Good morning, colleagues. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this multi-agency North Lanarkshire conference. Can I begin by welcoming our guest speakers and invited guests, staff and colleagues from NHS and all North Lanarkshire Council employees who work with children and families, our voluntary and third sector partners, private providers and inter-authority partners, as well as all those people who have set up market stalls at the back of the hall and in the foyer. As you will see from the conference packs, the title of our conference for today is Investing in Nurturing Lives and Communities, Building Resilient Communities. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gerard McLaughlin, and I'm the new Education Officer for Intervention and Inclusion, which in old speak is early years and additional support needs. I was only asked a few weeks ago if I would actually do the comparing for today, and I said yes. I had no idea that I would actually be standing up on a stage like this and speaking to over 200 delegates here today. Some people in their wisdom thought it was a good way of me introducing myself, but certainly I'm delighted to be here and comparing for you today. And obviously my job is to make sure that we keep on time, as well as introducing the various speakers. There's just a few housekeeping arrangements I need to go through. There's no planned fire test today, and if the fire alarm does go off, can I please ask you to leave the hall? You'll see certainly the exits are all marked, and there will be ushers outside the doors who will take you to the fire assembly point. If you are looking for the toilets, they can be found by going out the back and downstairs to the left. Can I please ask, especially for our speakers who are standing up here, if you've got a mobile phone that you maybe turn it to silent now, please. And just, can I thank everyone who actually brought items for the food bank? Your support is very much appreciated. You will see in your packs that we have a full conference today, and I just want to draw your attention to the final point is that we finish at 3:30. I know it's a Friday, and I know conferences, some people think, okay, I can maybe skip away after lunch, but to entice you to stay, there is a pack that you will get. No excuses, I've got to go to the dentist, I've got to go to the doctors, I'm visiting somebody in the hospital. Well, no excuses will be given, and as far as the pack is concerned, you will only get the pack when you hand over the evaluation at the end, okay? So, on top of that, just to entice you a little bit more, there are a number of golden tickets around the hall, and I'll tell you about that later, and those golden tickets will provide a prize for the people, and those sort of things will be done at the end of the conference. But you will see a lot of time and effort has gone into this conference. We would really like you to stay, and obviously, hopefully you'll find it very useful today. Can I officially ask Paul Jukes, the Chief Executive of North Lanarkshire Council, to officially open our conference? I think it's fair to say that his presence today shows just how much the Council values the work of the North Lanarkshire Partnership. So if you could actually join me in welcoming him on the stage.
Thanks very much, everyone. Excuse me, I'm getting over what my wife says is man flu, but I'm convinced there's some Amazonian virus that no one else has actually suffered from, so my apologies about that. I honestly stand in front of you today, and I'm not really sure. I got a welcome, and I got a speech, and I got a briefing, and I've read your notes of your previous two conferences and what have you. And I was saying earlier to Sheila and to Cheryl that I speak at many conferences and I open many conferences and I deliver a number of topics, but I never felt as nervous as I actually feel here today on the basis of something I know absolutely nothing about, subject matter experts in the audience, so I wouldn't try and insult your intelligence by delving into anything, other than to say some of my welcome you've stolen, so I can't cover all the welcomes that you've actually just done. But I did just have a brief discussion there with Anne about experiences and about bringing children up, I guess. And I've got 2 children of my own. And it's 2 things I've done. I've reflected over the years in terms of, you've probably gathered by now, I was brought up in the northeast of England. So, and my father died when I was 6 months, and my mum had 9 children. And I didn't realize until recently what an amazing job she did. And how difficult it must have been, because none of us brought, police to the door, or the kids have all grown up, they've all got families of their own, and their children are the same. And actually, the family environment my mum created, I didn't realize how much we benefited from. And I think you don't do that until later on in life. And I was reflecting on earlier in a conversation I was having with Cheryl, that I beat myself up quite a bit about the bringing up of my own children. My oldest boy sailed through school, sailed through university, didn't put a lot of effort in, frustrated his teachers because he could have got better grades than he actually got. My youngest boy, on the other hand, is dyslexic, had to work twice as hard, had to put twice as much effort in, never expected him to get to university, and so on. And he managed it, and he was fine. But the reason I beat myself up about it is that because he's dyslexic, it was only when I was watching a TV program and it was reflecting on, how the brain, and I'm not going to insult anyone in the room who's a professional in the field, but how the brain develops and how balance is so important, and how the early formative years in terms of sitting up, falling over, learning to crawl, learning to walk, and so on, and how that influences how you are in later life. And according to the TV program I watched, and I still don't know if it's true because I'm not a medical professional, is that if children go from sitting to walking and they miss out the crawling bit, there's something that they miss in terms of the development of the brain and the balance and I might get this wrong, but the cerebellum in the brain or so, that's what the experts were actually telling me. And the reason I beat myself up about it, and I'm not really sure because I can't really remember, but was I encouraging my son to try and walk before he could actually crawl? And therefore, did that influence his actually development? And am I responsible for his dyslexia? Am I responsible for him struggling at school and having a hard time and so on? And he's fine, he's 24 years of age now, and he's flying. But you do wonder, what was my lack of education or my lack of understanding or my lack of appreciation of actually allowing him to develop naturally rather than actually force him through the system? Was I responsible for some sort of, the hard time he had when he was at school? And I don't know, and I genuinely don't know. And he's gone through all the stuff and done lots of tests and additional work, like kids get extra French lessons, extra math lessons to get them through their exams. We sent him for extra tests, and he had to do extra exercises, not necessarily maths, but extra physical exercises to try and help develop his brain. And it wasn't until I was reading all the stuff this morning and having the brief conversations before I come in here that I actually registered about how important them early years are. So it was really for me just to welcome, not necessarily to share that. I had no idea I was going to share that story with you until I had a conversation. And I still don't know whether I'm right or I'm wrong, but I did beat myself up about it. And I think and my wife beats herself up about it too. And to this day, the youngest boy, ask him to do something physical, ask him to do a practical task, and he's great at it. Ask him to write a letter, and he takes ages. He'll get there, but he actually struggles with it. It takes him a long time to get there. And he's come to me the other day, and this is, I recoiled, I have to say, sitting at the kitchen table. He'd come to the house the other night. He's got his own flat now, but come to the house about 10 o'clock, and, Dad, I just want to run this by you. What about this? And you know what you're like at the end of the day, and, you're tired at that point of the day. And to be blunt, I'm hoping he's not coming, because he always turns up at 10 o'clock, and he's full of life and wants to share whatever he's experienced that day with you. Dad, what about this? And I was thinking about it. And at this point, my wife normally makes herself a cup of tea and says, I'm going to bed. And just leaves me to do the boys' bit. And, what about this? What about that? What about the other? I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, will you help us with this? Will you help us with that? And then he said, I'm thinking about going back to university to do a master's. You could imagine my bloody heart sank. the thought of him having to write a 20 or 30,000 page dissertation in terms of all the work. But good on him. He's striving on for it, and I do appreciate that. We should have ambition. I have no actual pearls of wisdom for you, I have to say. I think in terms of the structure of our organisation, and I'm thinking about it, we tend to, in the past, have been locked in. Are we the health service? Are we the council service? If we're in the council service, are we the social work service? Or are we the education service? Or are we the housing service? And I think we have made massive drives forward to actually break them barriers. And fine, we all have to deliver what's on our job descriptions, whether you're actually working in the public sector, an arm's length company, whether you're in the voluntary sector, whatever that is, we all have to deliver our job descriptions. But I think it's even more important that probably at the top of the job description, it should actually talk about joint and integrated working. So we remove some of the barriers that perhaps Hilly says, that's not my job. And I think the more we can think about our organisation, and I'm a bit envious, I have to say, in some of the places south of the border here, when they don't talk about the council vision and they don't talk about the NHS priorities or the police priorities or the fire priorities or what's happening within a community directly associated with the voluntary sector, but more about, yes, we have all these structures, but we're dealing with as a place. And for me, it's North Lanarkshire as a place. Are we doing the best thing as a place? Not as a service, but as a place, and therefore are we supporting our communities, and indeed the specific element of the work you're going to talk about today, about formative years and nurturing young people. So I say, I'm no pearls of wisdom, other than the one thing I do say to my children all of the time is, if you want to do something, seek forgiveness, not permission, and I hope you enjoy your conference today. Thanks very much.